Hello, can you hear me? Okay, so first of all, thank you for React Berlin for the invitation, and it's really great to be here. I don't like to be the last one, it's too much pressure. I always have these nightmares, hey, is anyone to be there at the end? And it's really great to have you there. So today I'm going to talk about exploring audio with React and SVGs. And it's basically how you can use SVGs in a creative way. I gave other talks related with React and SVGs. It's just more related with illustrations. And then it's not that I work a lot with audio, but it's something that I really like. So I had this idea, let me explore and see what happened. So my name is Elizabet. And right now I'm working at Elastic. I'm a senior product designer. I tried to be front-end developer before. It never worked out. I'm too lazy to write proper code.
Yes.
Oh, it's not showing.
Can you go out?
Yes. Well, I thought you were seeing this, so can you just...
Can you go out the presentation?
Sorry.
Where's the mouse? Oh.
Yeah. Oh, okay. It's not on the screen. Okay.
Okay.
But now maybe the resolution is too big. Okay, much better. So, so let's start again. So my talk is about exploring audio with React and SVGs. And now I was introducing myself. So my name is Elizabet, and I'm actually from Portugal. I'm half Mozambican, half Portuguese. And I lived all my life in Lisbon. And then I had this idea to move to Dublin, where I decided to try to be a front-end developer. And it didn't work out. I found out that I like to be a designer, but I also like code, but coding in a creative way. So right now I'm working at Elastic, and with products like Kibana and our design system. So what is an SVG? This is like the definition from Wikipedia. It's an XML-based vector image format for two-dimensional graphic with support for interactivity and animation. But basically, this is the SVG, so all of it's like XML-based, very similar to HTML. And we can have a lot of elements like circle, paths, and all of this text will like describe how the image is going to be drawn. So a good thing about the SVGs when we compare to other images like GIFs and JPEGs, it's first of all is because it's scalable. So if you have like a very small logo and they put like a very large logo, it will scale without loss any quality. And the file size is going to be the same and very small file size. So if you have a very big logo or a very big illustration, it will have the same file size. If we're doing that with JPEG or GIF to make it larger, the file will be really, really heavy. So a good thing about SVG, the best part, is because it's modifiable. It means that with JavaScript and CSS, we can change, interact with it, change fields, change colors, and all of these things. This is my definition of SVG. It's just an image with superpowers. And SVGs is like perfect for complex UIs. So instead of losing a lot of time, imagine that you want to create like something very unique. If you try to do that with CSS, will be you have to know really proper CSS and position left, position right, and all of these things to put the UI the way you want. But with SVG, you just need to design with a tool like Sketch or Figma, and then you can interact with all the elements. But how you can use these SVG superpowers? First, if you use like as a CSS background image, you can't interact with the SVG because it's not in line. If you use like as image tag, you can't do anything. as well. Actually, the quality, because it's a vector image, will be a very good quality, but if you want to change the color of something inside the SVG, you can only do it if you use the inline SVG. But in React, if you want to expose the SVG, if you want to put it inline, there's actually two ways. The first one is to import the SVG as a React component, and the second one is to transform the SVG into JSX. So the first method, you won't have HTTP requests because the code will be inline. The good thing is you don't need to convert into JSX. It will be perfect for simple animations and to style with CSS. And also for the design part, imagine that you have a big illustration and then you need to replace the file. You just replace the file and that's it. So with this method, if you're using something like create React app, you will just need to say like import React component as logo, and then you will render as a component. And the background is using SVGR Webpack, and it's the SVGR that is doing this magic. But now I'm talking a lot about SVGs, but how can you use this method of transforming the SVG into React component? How can you use this with audio? So I'm going to start by this very small example. This is actually the moon landing by Neil Armstrong.
Everything is go here. We're just waiting for the
So let's listen. This is actually things that, when we think about audio, normally we just think about music and crazy stuff, but this is like a very simple example of a player that you can create for your website. If you do podcasts, to have in your podcast website. And I'm using this method of import the React component as SVG, and this is a SVG, this can be an SVG. So to do that, first of all, I created this with audio. That is basically what I'm setting all the states, the duration, saturation, and all of these things. And then this use audio is returning an audio HTML element that is actually hidden. And then I have this reference where I can connect with my props. So then I'm passing, then I just need on my audio player to use the audio. And then I can use the audio element that will be here, but actually is hidden because I want to use my own customized audio player. And then I can make use of the audio props. So this is a dead play pause button. And I'm passing to the component play pause button the audio props toggle playback. So this is my play pause button component. And here I'm importing the SVG as a component. Actually, I'm not using the create React app, so I don't need to say import as. I just need, I have the SVGR Webpack, and so I just need to say pause icon from the SVG, and then I will have here, I can render as a component. So it's really simple. And then this is actually the CSS that I'm using. And if you can see, I have this fill here. If I was importing the SVG as an image or as a CSS background, I couldn't like change a color like the fill. I just can because the SVG is there in line. And then I just have this on over effect that I'm just scaling up the icon. As you can see again, so I'm just doing this very basic. I can do this. But now you think, oh, it's so boring. Really, the dead play is really, really boring. So we can improve a little bit. So to improve it a little bit, so I'm using, it's the same code, but I just decided instead of using that circle in the time bar, I decided to use a different illustration. And because it's the moon landing by Neil Armstrong, I decided, okay, let me use this cute moon. And I basically can do the same.
Everything is go here. All RCU windows. Update here, clear.
So I think it's much more creative, and especially if you're going to have audio players in your websites, and if your website is talking about, let's say, planets, you can have like a player with a planet. And the other day I saw a code with, it was a podcast called The Ladybug, and there was a ladybug here. So every time you were hovering, the ladybug was some kind of flying. And I think we can create all of these creative things. So the only thing from the other player to this one that I changed was basically I just imported the moon icon as an SVG, as a React component. And then I just inserted inside my time bar circle, and that's it. And then I just put a little bit over CSS to enhance a little bit, just when I over the moon, it just scale a little bit. So that's basically what I did, and the final result. And that's it. And now I talk about this first method of importing the SVGs as React components, and then we have this way of transforming into JSX. And this method is like the other one. We don't need HTTP requests because actually we're not calling the image. The SVG is there in line. It's perfect because we could do like code splitting, so I can have a very complex SVG, and then I can split in different components. I can make use of props, states, and event handlers, but then a bad thing is complex to update. If you start having like this big illustration, and now you decide to change the design, because you already splitted and so many different components, it starts getting really complex. So when we think about audio, normally we think about, audio players, but actually the audio you can use for so many things. So I created like this illustration that actually I was using in other talk that I had. And with this illustration, I had this idea, okay, I can give an example of, for instance, like application that you can do for kids, like an app where the kids can interact, like an over something up, and if you click, this happens. So this is in this method. So I created the illustration, and then the thing that I did was with the design tool. You can use also Illustrator. I think for me it's too complex. I like Sketch or Figma. And actually, I saw a talk of Sarah Drasner where she says if you want to use SVGs, actually, you don't need to have design skills because you have so many libraries and that you can use for free. Actually, I have a library called React-Kawaii, and there's a lot of SVG there, and you can use to create your own things. So the first thing when you have this kind of illustration is you export from the tool, and then you have to transform into JSX. You can find and replace the elements, or there's some tools online where you go there, you copy-paste your code, and then you transform it into JSX. I like to use SVGR CLI. And it's really easy to use. So you have these in your scripts and your package JSON. You create this script. I called it SVG to JSX. And with SVGR, I'm saying that I want my illustration that is called SVG and React to be transformed into a component called SVG and React.js. But first, I want to optimize the image with SVGo. And for that, I'm saying, please see my SVGo configuration here. And here, I'm just saying, by default, it will remove the view box and will clean up the IDs, and I don't want that. So I will put, OK, my IDs, I want to keep the IDs, and I don't want to remove the view box. This is like when I transform, by default, will be called SVG component. And this is already transformed from the SVGR. I already had a few things here. But as you can see, I have the props here, some props. It was everything the SVGR doing. And then I'm using for this illustration framer motion. And then with framer motion, what I'm doing, it's you can replace elements. So I'm replacing the group of the SVG into a motion.group. And what I'm saying, like, while over, I want to scale, and on click, I want to this constant called boy to play. And this constant called boy is basically the audio. So this is like the audio constructor, and I'm just saying, okay, create audio element with these two MP3s, the boy and the girl, and then and the element, when I say on click, I want to play the boy or I want to play the girl. And it's really easy. It took me like, okay, the illustration took some time, but to do the code is nothing. Like with the framer motion and with the web audio API, it's really easy. And that's it. And then we have another, and this is like the last example, and this is called the cassette tape, and it's much more complex. So basically, I can tell a little bit about the story of this cassette tape. So back in the days when I was younger, I was living in Lisbon, and I decided that I wanted to take iOS course, and I went to the course, and at the end of the course, we all had to create like an iOS app. So I decided, because I really like hip hop, I decided it was a good idea to create a hip hop like drum loop where I could listen to the beat, and then I could press record and record my freestyle. So at the end of the course, things didn't go well, and actually, the most difficult part was to achieve the layout at that time with Xcode and auto layout, to achieve the design that I really liked it. So when I moved to Dublin years after, I was searching on my laptop and I found the design, and I said, yeah, maybe nowadays I can try again to create the app again. And I found out 5 years ago that I could use the web audio API in the browser, record my voice, use the microphone input. And I said, yeah, and maybe I can export this as an SVG, and I can animate it, and I started the project. So once again, with Sketch and Figma, I exported that design. I transformed it into GSX again with SVG CLI. Once again, just my SVG transforming into a component, and with that, again, that SVGO optimizer configuration. And then at the end, I had something like that. So this is my SVG component. And that's the reason that I like to always leave the IDs, because then, in this example, the code is really, really big. It's a very complex illustration with a lot of things, so you have a very, very large file, and then if you don't know what is what, because you see a lot of paths if you remove the ID. So it's really, if you want to animate and create things, it's better if you leave the ID, so then you can see, okay, this is my time box, this is my recording text. And this is the way that I split the cassette tape. So basically, I have the big cassette tape and then small components. So that SVG became all of this. So one part is the background. There's one part with the buttons. Other part that I'm not too creative giving names, so it's the center. And then I have the time box and the track title. And then this is what I'm doing like at the cassette tape, because this is I did this long ago. So I'm using the old way of using state with React. And basically, what I have here is like just defining if he's recording, he's playing, what is my current track, and then my playlist, and recording URLs. And then I created some methods. Basically, I'm just checking my states. Is it playing? Is it not playing? If it's playing, and if I click play, it will pause or play. And then also, I have a record. Actually, the code of the part that is recording is not. I'm using a npm package, and then I have the prep tracks and next track, basically doing the same. I'm just seeing the state, where is the current track, and going to the next one or to the previous one. And then this is so in the main cassette where I'm importing the smaller components, and I'm passing the props to the smaller components. So for the center, I'm saying if it's playing or if it's recording, the time box, I don't need anything, the track title, background, and then really important in the buttons, where I'm passing all the methods, if display, this record, stop recording, and all of this. And then this is in my center.js component. It's where the wheels live. So I'm using pop motion for the animations. So if it's playing, I want the wheel to rotate, or if it's not playing, so it stops the wheel animation. And then this is what is happening in the buttons. So as you can see, if we have the SVG transform into GSX, you can make use of these things like on click, all these event handlers. So on clicks, I'm receiving the play props. That is actually the play method. And so I say on click, I just wanted to play. Same here. And then this is what I've achieved. And I actually improved a little bit, and I have this background. And this background, actually, I'm using Canvas, so that's why I'm not explaining the way I did. But actually, these slides are done like with Spectacle, so then I can share, and you can see all the code, and you can improve it, or just learn with it, or even just use it and do whatever you want with it. It's open source. And so just to give an example what I can do here. So I can play. I have different loops. I can start recording. And then if I stop recording, actually I'm using the microphone input. It's not ideal because the quality. See, the quality of the sound is not the best. But now that I show you this, I will need your help. So because I want to, I said that I really like hip-hop, and I created that app in the past to do freestyles. So I really want to do, like with my cassette tape, I want to do a hip-hop. One part maybe is going to be a freestyle, but I have a lyric. I'm not sure if I'm going to remember all the lyrics, but I will need your help. So something I will just sing the chorus, and then you just need, you see where you see this fire? Is the parts that you have to say. So let's try it. So it's like, I'm coding like a criminal, designing like a miracle. They say I'm invisible, and then for this, I'm original. Let's go again. I'm coding like a criminal, designing like a miracle. They say I'm invisible. For this, I'm original. Again, I'm coding like a criminal, designing like a miracle. They say I'm invisible. For this, I'm original. Okay. Now let's see with the beat. Okay. I've been designing with Sketch, calling all these APIs fetch, server-side rendering next. You can call me Explorer Edge, struggling with life cycles React. You can call me lightweight Preact. I'm a way too complicated TypeScript, but I'm still in this class. Type this, learning from mistakes. Microsoft, more than 1 million skills. Lara Croft, I'm a way too complicated TypeScript, but I'm still in this class. Type this, animating SVGs, original. Let me kill you one time, terminal. Watch me giving a talk, Netflix. I'm gonna keep it short, here 6. Come on, I'm coding like a criminal, designing like a miracle. They say I'm invisible. For this, I'm original. Okay, I'm coding like a criminal, designing like a miracle. They say I'm invisible. For this, I'm original. Now I'm going to do a freestyle in Portuguese, because I can do freestyles in English. And then we do the chorus again, and I will end up. Okay? Let's see how it goes. Does anyone here understand Portuguese? Okay. Oh, I'm in trouble. Yeah, agora eu canto em português. Tu podes não saber, mas isto parece chinês, porque eu faço um freestyle e sabes bem que é a tua. Ontem eu estou em Berlim, ontem eu estava em Lisboa. É mesmo assim, sabes que aqui ninguém compete. Meu nome verdadeiro, sabes que é Elizabet. E antes no passado conheciam por dama beta. Agora eu faço esta cena, sabes bem que isto é rap. A cena vai seguindo, eu te faço tipo bling bling. Sabem muito bem que eu estou no React em Berlim. E vou fazendo isto mesmo até ao fim. Eu vou precisar de ajuda porque não ri de mim. Vamos lá fazer a cena porque aqui já não importa. Sabem como é, quem aqui abre e fecha a porta. Ok, sem respiração, agora o refrão. Let's go. I'm coding like a criminal, designing like a miracle. They say I'm invisible. Let's go. For this I'm original. I'm coding like a criminal, designing like a miracle. They say I'm invisible. Okay. For this I'm original. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Really? So that's the way that I will end up my talk, and it was really great to be here. And I just want to finish by saying, well, let's make the web fun again. I have these that I always say, and one day I realized it looked like let's make America great again. And I was like, oh my God, this may be a little bit too much, but I'm not sure. So what I want to say is just use SVGs in a creative way to create your unique UIs and your unique ideas. And that's it. Thank you.